You're listening to the All-American Actors Podcast, episode 47. In today's episode, we're talking about how perspective can help you book the U.S. role. That's coming up next. Ready to go behind the scenes and learn what it really takes to build a sustainable career as a working actor in the U.S. film and TV industry? Join me, Catherine Beck, your All-American Accent Coach, as I give you the insight and inspiration to take action on your career. Learn my best tips and tricks to performing with an American accent, and hear from working actors and other industry professionals to give you a comprehensive overview of this biz we call showbiz. This is the All-American Actors Podcast. Before we jump into today's podcast, I want to give a big shout out to Trudy Palmtree, who wrote this 5-star review and says, I love this podcast. The interviews are especially wonderful. So many incredible guests generously sharing their experiences of working in the film industry. It's a must listen for any actor wanting to gain industry knowledge in a fun way. Oh, Trudy, thank you so much. I was smiling as I read this review because it really warms my heart to know that what I'm doing in this podcast is inspiring a whole generation of young actors that are just starting out, even actors that have been working in the biz for a while and still chipping away, breaking, through the biz and trying to get new opportunities, or maybe moving, overseas and trying your way in Canada or the US. This is the whole reason why I brought back the podcast, is because I realized that we need to hear more voices. We need to know that we are all the same. Doesn't matter whether you're starting out in the business or you've been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years. We all feel the same things. And I am so excited, especially to be bringing back some incredible interviews your way. I've got some really good ones coming your way that I can't talk about yet. I can't announce, but I'm really looking forward to bringing some, great people on the podcast sharing their experiences with you. That's what this is all about. That's what I'm really passionate about. And so thank you for recognizing that. This is a very long thank you, love note on this review, but it really does mean a lot to me. So thank you so much. And if you have been out there listening to the podcast and loving what you hear as well, do me a favor. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you do, but leave me your own love note, a 5-star review, and let me know what you think of the podcast or a specific episode. And when you do, you will also get featured on the show. So if you're loving this episode, go ahead and leave us a review. All right. Big announcement. Well, actually, it's not really an announcement because I've already announced it, but I am reminding you of my big announcement that we are doing a free 5-day Master the All-American Accent Challenge. We are back, and that begins Monday, March 14th. Put it in your calendar. If you've not yet registered for it, make sure you do. You're going to head over to catherinebeck.com/challenge right now so you can join in on all the fun. I've got a new monologue selected, which means it's a whole new challenge. And it is one of my most favorite things to do. I love doing this challenge. I love the fact that I've got actors that keep coming back to every single challenge that I do. That is the beauty of the 5-day challenges. It's always new. It's a different challenge every time because you get a new monologue. So join me in all of the fun. catherinebeck.com/challenge, and I will see you there. All right, let's talk perspective. And this is something that I think we need to talk more about as actors. This is something that I talked about on a friend's podcast, actually, just the other day, on how culture plays a big role in how we speak and how we communicate. And we don't often consider that when we create the voice for our character, especially in another accent. And I get it. I totally get it, because when you create a character from where you're from and that character speaks like you, why would we think about perspective? Why would we think about culture and how culture plays a role in how we speak? Because you're building a character from the same perspective. But when you're building a character from another country, that perspective changes. And that matters big time because we can hear it in your voice. We can hear it in your accent. And that could be the reason, the very reason why you didn't book that last US audition. It could be the very thing that is holding you back from landing that dream role or getting signed by that dream agent or manager. And it's so easy for us to hear what I have to say in this podcast and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. I should consider my character's perspective. But it's not enough just to hear it. We've got to actually do it. It's all in the action. It's in the doing. So you need to know how to actually do this. You need to really understand the differences in perspective between you and a native, authentic American speaker, somebody who was born in the US. And this is what I focus on so deeply and put so much attention on inside my signature program, All American Voice, because this is the stuff that isn't being taught to you in drama school, in your dialect class, in your voice class, or anywhere else. Why? Because most people don't know about it, don't realize it, are not aware of the stuff I am teaching. And the only reason I am aware of it is because I moved halfway around the world. I left Hollywood and moved to Sydney, Australia. So I understand how all of this works because I've lived it myself, and most people haven't lived it. Therefore, they don't understand it. They're not aware of it, and they cannot teach it. But it is so crucial. This is the thing that is holding you back. This is the thing that when people are listening and watching your audition, this is what they're picking up on when they say your audition is good, but your accent needs some work. And you go, but I've done all the things. I've taken the accent courses and I've worked with a dialect coach. I've done all the things you told me to do. So what do you mean I still need to work on my accent? Well, my friends, this is it. It's the perspective. The perspective is heard through your voice. And this is like sometimes the final frontier. And that is what I'm sharing with you in this podcast episode. And I cannot tell you how many times I've heard from actors where they're told by their agents or their managers or a casting director that they need to work on their accent. The agent, the American agent, American manager, or American casting director, they're picking up on something that maybe isn't in the pronunciation. I'm going to say that again, because oftentimes when we think about accents, we think about pronunciation, sound substitutions. But there's so much more to embodying another accent. And what they're picking up on and what I pick up on is the nonverbal forms of communication. These are the things that are heard in your voice, which are not matching the perspective of the American speaker. So that is why I must become your biggest cheerleader to help you see things differently, to shift the way you think so you can shift the way you speak. So I want you to start looking when you've got an audition, not just at your sound substitutions. Look at your tone, your intonation. Look at the rhythm patterns, the rhythm shifts. Look at your projection. Varying all of this, creating a journey for your character throughout that audition piece so that it's not just a one-note wonder, ladies and gentlemen. We're not all on the same level, and you've heard that from, teachers in the past, right? Of creating that journey in your audition. Well, you've got to create that in your voice as well. And when you can create that, that's where the magic is. And that's where you're going to start to get more auditions. That's going to lead to more callbacks, and that's going to lead to more roles, more bookings. You're going to start to notice and feel a difference. So my challenge for you in this episode and from this moment forward is to think differently. I want you to think from the American's perspective, not from your perspective, but from the American's perspective, and notice how that shifts your outcome. That is it for today's episode. I hope that this has inspired you for your next audition. And if it does, make sure to let me know how you go. Send me a DM on Instagram at Catherine_Beck_, especially if you love this episode. Go ahead, take a screenshot of the show and share it with me on your Instagram story. And don't forget to tag me in it at Catherine_Beck_. Thanks for listening today. And remember to sign up for my free 5-day Mastering the All-American Accent Challenge head over to katherinebeck.com/challenge and I will see you there. And coming up next week on the show, I am breaking down the 7 foundations to mastering the all-American accent. These are all the foundations that you need to be practicing, you need to know to really master the all-American accent, and why that is the only American accent you should be learning for your U.S. auditions. Now make sure you share the show with all your actor friends, let them know what's coming up next week, and invite them to tune in with you and learn how to become an all-American actor so you can be the working actor you dream to be. Until then, go practice your American accent, and I'll see you back here next time.